Chapter 11. Is this really happening? Don't worry if it doesn't feel real just yet. Pregnancy is the most natural thing on the planet, they say. I mean, what could be more natural than a living thing growing inside your body? Sure, that is a setup for pretty much every scary scene in every sci-fi movie you've ever watched, but still, it's natural. Don't worry. And when you are faced with this totally natural occurrence, you are supposed to feel a surge of maternal instincts, instead of the urge to run away flailing your arms like they do in all those sci-fi movies. But sometimes those maternal instincts don't seem to show up in the way you anticipated they will. You are acting as an incubator for a real live person, a person you will be tasked with loving, protecting, and raising. You understand all of these things on a logical level, but for some reason your emotions haven't quite caught up. You don't feel like a mom, even though you are currently participating in a very significant mom activity. Maybe you are going through the motions, making doctor's appointments, picking out nursery furniture, stockpiling onesies and bibs, poring over every pregnancy and baby book you can find. But as many motions as you go through, as happy as you are, as big as that belly gets, all of this doesn't quite feel real yet. In some ways, it may feel like a story you are telling yourself, a story about how you will have a baby someday. But it doesn't quite feel like today is that day. But that's okay, because today isn't actually the day you are having the baby. And until then, and maybe even after that, it's okay if all this feels like a weird piece of performance art you are putting on. Just keep playing the part, and eventually you'll be holding a real live baby and you will never be short on realness ever again. In my case, I don't think I actually felt like a real mom until a couple of weeks after my first baby was born. It was around the time I finally started getting the hang of how to care for her. I knew I loved her, I knew she was mine, but only after the initial shock and awe of her arrival was I finally able to settle into the fact that I was actually a mom. I was worried those first few weeks that I was missing some sort of mom gene, that I would forever just be playing the part and never quite feel like a real mom. But I gave myself some time, and eventually something clicked in me or her or both of us. So don't stress out if you are still having trouble wrapping your head around the sci-fi movie happening in your uterus. You aren't the only one who has ever felt this way. It's a weird, somewhat gross, and beautiful thing that is taking place. And I promise it all ends a lot better than those scary movies. Moms on the front lines. Mom. I asked my MOFL when they actually felt like moms for the first time, and most of them were as emotionally vacant as I was until their baby made its appearance. Michelle. I felt like a mom the first night home. I was changing a diaper in the middle of the night while my husband was snoring. He didn't even hear the baby cry. That's when I knew it was all on me. Moms don't get a break. They are on call 24/7. Sarah. I didn't feel like a mom until Drew got here. During pregnancy, it all just seems so unnatural to have a person growing inside of you, even though it's the most normal thing in the world. I loved being pregnant, but it felt unnatural. Casey. I felt like a mom once I could feel the baby moving around and I could see the bump. Melanie. As he got older and continues to get older, I feel more and more like a mom. And I continue to be a learning mom who struggles with the littlest of things, but I love it. Tara. In my mind and heart, I earned the mom badge when they laid Drew on my chest for the first time in the delivery room. Monica. The times I actually feel like a mom are when I bake chocolate chip cookies and have them ready for after-school snack, when I actually prepare 3 real meals a day, when I'm sitting at a soccer game or football game cheering on my kids. I always know I'm a mom, but there are fun little moments when I feel like a mom. Of course, I felt like a mom when my babies were born and I was round the clock nourishing and nurturing them, but for some reason driving the minivan and preparing the 4 lunches every morning, those are the times I feel most like a mom. Partner Corner. When was it real? Jason. When I walked out of the hospital with my first son in a car seat and the people in the hospital didn't come help us get him into the car. It was probably the most terrifying moment of my life. That is when I realized I was always going to be a dad. This little life was going to look to me for everything and I'd better learn quick what to do. Kevin. My twins were born 3 months early and had to stay in the NICU for 2 months. I didn't officially feel like a dad until we brought them home from the hospital, even though I spent hours upon hours with them before that. Matt. I felt like a dad the minute I knew she was pregnant. My responsibilities were taking care of mom until the uterus exodus. When did it get real? When I had to pay the hospital bill. Actually, it always got real when the sex stopped for months, then ramped back up in month 8. Maybe I should not have written that last part. Dear Bean letters. Week 25. Kick counts. Dear Bean, I've been told that I should be monitoring your kick counts. I should keep track of how long it takes for you to kick 10 times in my belly. Apparently, I'm supposed to sit down, set a timer, and wait for you to kick 10 times. If you don't kick 10 times in 2 hours, I need to contact my doctor. I don't think I'm going to need to contact my doctor anytime soon. You kick 10 times before I'm even able to sit down and start the timer. I'm not sure what these other babies are doing during the 2 hours required to get their 10 kicks in, but your primary uterine pastime is kicking everything in sight, as often as possible. You especially enjoy taking aim at my bladder, which is a special treat. It took me a while to realize what your kicks felt like. Initially, when you were still pretty tiny, they felt like gas bubbles or a fluttering of sorts. Given the unfortunate situation in my stomach since being pregnant, I figured gas bubbles were just another pregnancy feature. But then the bubbles started getting bigger, less fluttery, more poppy. Finally, because mommy isn't so quick, I realized they weren't bubbles at all. They were you, a tiny human being assailing my insides. Kick, 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 tap, tap, tap. I've loved feeling your kicks all day, every day. I've loved them less all night, every night, but still they were a reminder that this pregnancy is real, that you are real, and that makes me happy. I think one of the most exciting times so far was the night I was lying in bed reading a magazine. Mama was asleep next to me. You started to kick, because you must have gotten the message that I was in bed and thinking about going to sleep. But this time your kicks felt a little harder than before. I put my hand on my belly, and sure enough, for the very first time, I could feel your kicks from the outside. I immediately woke up Mama. She was frazzled and half asleep. I hit her repeatedly to bring her into focus. What's wrong?" she asked. I grabbed her hand and put it on my belly. She was nervous, as if I was trying to tell her something bad. But then you came through, and kick, 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 tap, tap, tap. Her face lit up. "Is that?" I smiled and nodded my head. She sat up in bed and put both hands on my belly, finally being able to feel what I'd felt for weeks. "There's a baby in there!" "I know!" She gave my belly kisses and talked to you, the way she had so many times since we found out you were growing inside of me. But on this night, you finally talked back a little. Kick, 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 tap, tap, tap. Pregnancy WOD, month 7. You can see the finish line just up around the bend. You've probably officially started to waddle, and you may be peeing with alarming frequency while a human spends its days dancing on your bladder. I have taken your physical condition into consideration and devised these exercises accordingly. But what these lack in physical requirements, they more than make up in psychological tests. You didn't think you'd get off that easy, did you? Number 1. Go 3 days without bathing or changing your clothes. Number 2. Make a hasty exit from a restaurant. If you are anything like me, you enjoy a meal cooked by someone else, especially when that someone else works in a nice restaurant. Like me, you may spend more than an average amount of time eating in restaurants because cooking is hard, or at least you think it is because, to be honest, you've never really tried it. Of course, you understand that kids will slow down the frequency of your restaurant visits, but you are confident that you will have children who behave well in restaurants and will be comfortable with visiting them often. Aren't you adorable? To prepare for your post-baby restaurant experiences, you are going to have to make some minor adjustments to the way you dine out. The first adjustment is the time you are allowed to stay in the restaurant. No, there isn't a set amount of time that children behave in a restaurant setting, and that is what makes this game so much fun. You may have an hour, you may have 3.5 minutes, no one knows for sure. Even your baby doesn't know. They can be doing fine in the restaurant, and then all of a sudden a waiter looks at them the wrong way, and it will send a signal to their brain that it is time to get the hell out of this establishment. The signal will in turn reach your brain via a high-pitched wail. When that wail comes, no matter when it comes, your time is up. Please exit immediately. Do not wait for to-go boxes. Do not exchange pleasantries with the waiter. Throw cash in the general direction of someone who looks like they work at the restaurant and flee the scene. The best way to prepare for this new restaurant experience is to shake off your old dining routine before the baby joins you. No more dilly-dallying over appetizers and beverages. Study the menu in advance and order as soon as you are seated. When your food arrives, ask for a to-go box because you may be required to turn this dine-in into a take-out order at a moment's notice. Also, immediately ask for your check. Pay it before you have even completed your meal. That way you are free to flee whenever the wailing begins. Don't even bother looking at that dessert tray. You are years away from seeing another restaurant dessert. Say goodbye to them now and forget all the good times you've shared. It's easier that way. Before you leave the restaurant, throw 75 napkins on the table and half of your food on the floor, so you can get a good idea of the mess you will be leaving behind from now on. Because of this, you will also need to go back and increase your tip amount by an additional 15%. On the way home, maybe buy a cookbook. Number 3. When you get up in the morning, look at yourself in the mirror, throw on a little makeup, optional, run a brush through your hair, also optional, and decide that you are now ready to go about your day. Do not change out of your pajamas, even if you are leaving the house. For the first months of new motherhood, you will give not one single shit what you look like inside of your house. Eventually, that lack of shits will grow to include your appearance outside the house as well. You will be too tired and overwhelmed to spend the time and 5 gallons of concealer it would take to try to bring your face back to life. So you will regularly head out into the world looking alarmingly similar to how you looked when you got out of bed that morning, and to someone in need of professional psychological help. This WOD is as much for your benefit as it is for those around you. All of you need to get used to your upcoming change of appearance, and being eased into it will help everyone practice their individual reactions to it. Seeing looks of horror slide across people's faces when you enter the room can be really hard on your postpartum brain. So get those looks out of the way now when you still have the emotional strength to deal with it. Number 4. Close your eyes. Have a friend or family member grab the most disgusting thing they can find. Open your eyes as they throw this disgusting thing at you. Put your hands out and catch the thing, no questions asked. Before becoming a parent, it is human nature to avoid gross things. That's because gross things are, well, gross. And who wants to be around them? No one. And there's also not anyone who wants to touch the gross things, because we aren't animals. Once you enter parenthood, quite a few areas of your brain cease to operate at full capacity. The most significant alteration happens to the part of your brain in charge of disgust. Initially, you will be quite alarmed by the various liquids coming out of your baby, and you will be absolutely horrified by how much of that liquid you are coming into direct contact with. But over time, you will build up a tolerance for the disgusting things coming out of your child. Eventually, parenting will wear you down to the point where putting your hands out to catch vomit and/or feces will seem like a completely logical reflex. This WOD will help you work on those reflexes before your child arrives, so you can avoid running off in horror at the sight of your baby's first shit explosion. Start this WOD by having your assistant throw mildly offensive things at you. Think cottage cheese or sour milk, and gradually work your way up to dog poop. Also, as you get better at this WOD, have your assistant throw disgusting things at you without prior notice. As a parent, you need to always be on high alert and ready to catch bodily fluids. This is one of the more magical parts of parenting. You might as well get used to it now. Chapter 12. The registry you really need. Make this list, check it twice. I was going to tell you about all the stuff that you are inevitably going to put on your baby registry and how little of that stuff you will ever actually need, or how little of it you or your child will use for more than 4 minutes. I was also going to go on and on about the ridiculous amounts of cash we all spend on baby whatnots and some misguided belief that the more whatnots we have, the easier our baby raising will be. I was going to tell you that all you really need is a bunch of diapers, onesies, and some Tupperware, because for some reason babies are endlessly entertained by Tupperware. But then I realized it's pretty much impossible to convince an expectant mother to go easy on her baby registry. Even if she has good intentions, she'll most likely be powerless to control herself when she's let loose inside of Babies R Us with that little registry gun they give you. You start off simply with a pack of diapers here and some bibs there, and then before you know it, you are drunk on power and streaking through the aisles with your gun out, blindly zapping every item you pass. It happens. I don't want to begrudge anyone of her duly earned excitement, so I say register with abandon. If friends and family are going to bring you gifts, great. They can choose from the 14 pages of registry items you helpfully suggested. But after that, when the gifts have dwindled and it's time to make your own purchasing choices, I would recommend lowering your requirements on acceptable baby whatnots as soon as possible. Secondhand baby stuff is often damn near firsthand because babies only use their whatnots for 3 minutes before growing out of them or growing bored with them. Buy and accept and seek out all secondhand baby stuff that you can find. Your bank account will thank you for it. While I know there's no way to talk you out of a ridiculously bloated baby registry, I do feel like it's my responsibility to talk you into another kind of registry, one that is equally, if not more, important, because it will include all the things you really need. I like to call this list the Mommy Registry. With all of your Babies R Us registry gun shenanigans, it's likely you've completely overlooked the things you will actually need to survive motherhood. And since Babies R Us doesn't offer bulk discounts on wine, I'm pretty sure you have to head to another store to complete the Mommy Registry. The Mommy Registry. Some, but not all, of the items needed for mommy's survival. Larger purse. The amount of accessories and doodads needed to keep your child alive and entertained is hard to adequately explain. When your baby is brand new, a lot of his or her necessities will be carried around in your overpriced diaper bag. But even then, you'll find that your purse becomes the final resting place for countless baby-related items. As your child gets older, you will stop using the diaper bag and your poor purse will be solely responsible for transporting all of your parenting requirements. As I type this, my purse is full of granola bars, underwear, suckers, stickers, fruit snacks, tissues, used and new, hand sanitizer, party invitations from months ago, and an empty juice box. I think I might have a wallet in there somewhere as well. My kids are no longer babies, so my current purse is actually quite a bit lighter than it was in the past. So when you are buying your fancy new diaper bag, go ahead and grab a purse the size of your torso as well. That purse will be responsible for transporting everything required to parent your child when you are outside of your house. You better make sure it has a really strong strap. Bladder leakage panty pads. Light bladder leakage, LBL, is a thing. It has an acronym. It happens to women who have given birth, and these pads will help curb some possible embarrassment. Glamour is your new middle name. Push-up bra. Take a glimpse at those wonderful boobs of yours. Look at them sitting up so high and mighty. They have no idea what is coming their way, or how far they will tumble from their current birth. Help them out and grab a nice push-up bra now, before they start their inevitable trek down toward your navel. Once they are there, you will be happy that you have a handy transportation device to bring them back up to their previous glory. Tankini. A tankini is like a bikini except the top part is long and does everything it can to keep your middle section under wraps. It's really doing the Lord's work. Once you have a baby, your stomach muscles usually go on strike. You went and stretched everything out, and they aren't in the mood to put it all back together the way it looked before. Your tankini understands this struggle and is here to help you deal with it. All the caffeine. As soon as you become a parent, you'll be thrust into a sleep-deprived haze that will last for approximately 2 decades. You will slowly build up a tolerance for this haze and eventually be able to perform most of your day-to-day activities despite the limited capabilities of your tired brain. And by build up a tolerance, I mean develop a caffeine addiction. Some people like their caffeine in coffee form, some people like it in Red Bull form, Some people, like me, consume Mountain Dew in quantities that are probably not recommended by anyone who has ever read the ingredients or seen the color of Mountain Dew. We all do what we can to get by. Go to 7-Eleven, grab one of those drink cups that is big enough to hold a small child. Coincidence? Buy it and keep it on hand to transport any and all caffeine your body will require once you become a parent. Dry shampoo. It should be no secret that regular bathing habits are soon to be a distant memory for you. Dry shampoo lets you shampoo your hair without having to do all that silly disrobing, standing under warm, refreshing water, and lathering up the rest of your body with soap, because who has time for such things? You should probably stock up on deodorant, too. Hair ties. As you might have gathered from the last item, you aren't always going to get around to doing your hair every day. Stock up on hair ties and stash them in various parts of your home. Please be warned that hair ties, taking a cue from socks, regularly run away from you in your home, never to be heard from again. They leave without warning and often when you need them most. Don't be left stranded by their abandonment. Buy them in bulk before it's too late. Yoga pants. I'm not even sure what yoga pants are since I've only done yoga one time and I'm pretty sure I was wearing the wrong pants because I'm sure the right pants would have made me much better at yoga. But it seems as though every mom rambles on about her beloved yoga pants, so you should probably grab some. My version of yoga pants are a comfortable pair of loose black pants that could reasonably be considered something someone might wear if she was so inclined as to twist her body into yoga poses. They are comfy and stain-resistant, and I've been wearing them every day for going on 6 years. Find some comfy pants of your own and buy a few pairs. If you really want to excel at the mommy game, you should consider getting yoga pants with at least a tiny pattern on them. This pattern will help disguise the many stains your pants will harbor before you finally throw them in the wash. The better the pattern, the less laundry you have to do. Choose wisely. Multi-pack of car washes. The car wash by my house offers a deep discount if you purchase a multi-pack of car washes in advance. I recommend you find a similar deal and get multi-packs of the multi-packs. The impending mess inside your car is not something you will be able to handle by yourself. You are not a miracle worker. You will regularly need someone with access to an industrial-strength vacuum to help you. They are also going to need roughly 14 gallons of professional cleaning solution. Tip these people well if they make it out alive. Stain stick and stain spray in bulk. I feel like this is self-explanatory, or at least it will be very soon. 6-pack of wine holder. If you are breastfeeding, then you are obviously going to need to hold off on consuming the wine in this 6-pack, but that doesn't mean you can't get it all ready for the day after your little bundle of joy finally releases control of your nipples and your liver. Under eye cream, and possibly the number of a very good plastic surgeon. Post-it notes. Before you have kids, your brain may be a place of wonder and order. You may keep several running lists at one time. You may have an extensive and well-versed vocabulary. You may never walk into a room and have no idea what the hell you are doing there. Unfortunately, your lease on that brain is just about up, and it will be replaced by a much more tired model. That model isn't going to be great with lists or vocabulary or dates. Plan ahead for this system malfunction by buying the biggest package of Post-it notes that you can find. Once you have your baby, keep those Post-it notes within arm's reach at all times. When a thought enters your head, you should immediately jot it down on a Post-it note, because immediately after that, the thought will take leave of your brain, never to return. Napkins. I don't think I was really prepared for the amount of napkins I would blow through once I had kids. Grab all the napkins you can find and fill your pantry with them, and then fill another room, and that will still not be enough napkins. There are never enough napkins. Door locks. I asked my MOFL what items they would recommend for the mommy registry, and Amy recommended door locks. I asked her if she meant door locks for the kids' door or for her door. She responded, all the doors, so you can isolate yourself at any time. Listen to Amy. Partner Corner. Jeremy. All the nursery stuff and baby crap drove me nuts more than anything. Since I don't have baby juices raging through my veins, I can logically look at the latest must-have rubber baby junk and go, nah, we don't need that. But there's no arguing with a hormone-raging prego chick. Just resign yourself that you are going to buy all this crap and never use it, then throw or give it away. And it costs so damn much money. I swear to God, if you want to be a millionaire, design some baby doodad, paint it blue and pink, rub newborn smell on it, market it in all the mom forums, and wait for the profit to roll in. By the time the ex-expecting mothers realize it wasn't necessary, they are diligently trying to pawn it off on the next generation of up-and-coming moms to recoup some of the mortgage-busting money that was spent on it in hopes of appeasing their still annoyed husbands. Partner Corner. Mommy and Mama. Krista, who gave birth to her first 2 sons, and her partner gave birth to her third. I feel so grateful to have had both experiences. They are so different. With my first 2, it was happening to me. As a partner to a woman going through it, especially as a lesbian mom who had experienced it herself, it was challenging. We were not seen as lesbians by those around us. If you're a pregnant woman, you're obviously straight. I could have had my hand in her pants and right to her face someone, a sales clerk, a nosy parent, a stranger would say, "Your husband must be so excited," or "Is this for your husband?" Even in the maternity store, I was her good friend. It infuriated me and made me feel invisible as a new and expectant mom. Becky. Being in a same-sex, lesbian, or gay relationship and trying for kids is both cool and really hard. As women, the cool part was deciding who would have the kids. Had I not been diabetic, I probably would have jumped at the opportunity. But I am diabetic, so we chose Dawn instead. And getting pregnant was very scientific for us. There was nothing romantic about it. Because I didn't carry the babies, it meant my DNA was not involved. There was never even a little chance that these babies would look like me. That was hard. But I was so glad we chose Dawn to carry them. They are adorable and stubborn and funny, and I don't feel like I love them any less for not having carried them. I feel like they are my babies, because they are. Overall, I would say being the girl in the dad role is a hard gig. You have to have a pretty thick skin to be able to handle not having given birth like every other mom you are friends with. You have to have confidence to be able to talk with other moms because you didn't have that experience. You're like a dude, but not really. I've been lucky and feel like my girlfriends always let me into the mom conversation, even though I didn't fully earn that right. But I love our kids so much, and that's probably all you really need to be in the mom club. Chapter 13. It's time to huddle up. Setting a post-baby game plan. A lot of planning happens during pregnancy. There's a new baby on the way, and parents have to prepare in numerous ways. Where are they going to put the baby? What are they going to feed the baby? What are they going to name the baby? How in the hell are they going to survive a baby when they were worn out by dog-sitting their cousin's Labradoodle for 3 days last summer? There's a lot to think about, and I hate to add to the list, but a few very important things often don't get much attention during pregnancy and then turn out to be very important once the baby is here. And once the baby is here is a terrible time to be hashing out important issues. I know you've thought at great length about the color of the nursery and whether to go with cloth or disposable diapers, but it's time to huddle up and figure out some other key details as well. This is a 2-person huddle, so grab your partner and settle in for some planning. One of the biggest mistakes couples can make when heading into parenting is to blindly assume that the 2 of them are on the same page about everything regarding their new baby. Yes, you 2 love each other. Yes, you seem to have similar beliefs and morals and tastes. But that in no way guarantees that you have the same expectations for how things are going to go down once a baby barrels into your home. So get together now and have a chat about what you are expecting of each other post-baby barrel. This chat may go very smoothly because of course you are of one mind about how you'll raise your impending spawn, or this chat may reveal some appalling differences in expectations because it turns out you 2 are actually different people with different points of view. It could go either way, really. In the case of the appalling differences, it's much better to have those differences exposed and discussed now instead of discovering them at 3 a.m. while holding a 2-day-old screaming baby. Trust me. Partner Corner, Part 1. I usually put the partner corners at the end of the chapter, but the following message needs to be upfront and clear. Yes, it's important for couples to huddle up and work out the details of their lives post-baby, but there are some things a partner needs to know independent of any family meeting. Dear partners, your baby mama is going to be a mess. Your baby is going to be a completely foreign object to both of you. You can't help her hormones, and you might not even be very effective in helping with the actual baby, but you can do little things to help keep the wheels on during this trying time, or at least a couple of the wheels on, because let's be honest, you aren't a miracle worker. If she is stuck breastfeeding 23 hours out of her day, then you need to step up and take care of the things she can't do with the human attached to her boob. Do the many loads of laundry that need to be done every day. Tackle that pile of dishes in the sink. Make some meals for the two of you. Also, keep her breastfeeding station well stocked with water, magazines, blankets, pillows, snacks, iPads, and remotes so that she doesn't go completely insane while chained to a chair for hours. If she's comfortable with it, encourage your baby mama to pump between feedings so that you can try bottle feeding the baby to alleviate a little of the pressure on her. In general, your main goal is to never let her feel as if she is the only one suffering. They say misery loves company, but in this case, misery will just get really pissed off if her company is showing any signs of comfort. If you are relaxing on the couch, you best be holding a sleeping baby. If mommy doesn't bathe, no one bathes. And probably don't even consider asking whether it's okay for you to head out with your buddies because it's kind of boring here. That's a very good way to make sure things get very unboring very quickly. And by unboring, I mean filled with an onslaught of hormonal rage. Consider yourself warned, dear partners. Now, let's get to some of the issues you should probably hash out before your baby arrives, for everyone's sake. Baby duties. A lot of couples run into disagreements early on because they never actually discussed the expectations each of them had for how they were going to tackle different baby duties. This seems like pretty basic stuff, but it can become a pretty heated conversation when these differences present themselves. Even if mom is taking care of feeding the child, there are still many more tasks that can be split up. How will you deal with middle of the night, or middle of the afternoon for that matter, screaming fits that aren't cured by feeding? Diaper changes, bathing, or just hanging out with the baby during non-feeding, non-crying, non-sleeping time. This is not a lot of time at the beginning, but it's still worth talking about. I've known several new moms who didn't realize they were in a 1950s marriage until after they came home with their new baby. These women had husbands who assumed that pretty much all of the baby duties fell on the shoulders of their wives. I'll let you guess how well that assumption worked out for those husbands. In our house, Becky was in charge of bathing both of the kids when they were brand new. It was a short time each day that she got some real one-on-one time with them. I would collapse on the couch and enjoy some solitude while Becky splashed water on the baby and asked, "So, how was your day?" Every day. She sang songs, brushed their teeth, and cleaned their little bodies. It was nice for her to feel connected to the babies and for me to have a moment when they weren't connected to my boob. During your pre-baby huddle, you need to have an open conversation about how each of you are expecting this task management adventure to go. Do this with the understanding that neither of you really has any idea what shit is coming your way. But that doesn't mean you can't get some basic rules down on paper. Commit to sharing parenting responsibilities. Commit to communicating about what those responsibilities are as the child grows and needs different things. Commit to being vocal about what each of you needs independent of the baby. Commit to being gentle with each other as you both deal with the exhaustion and disorientation that comes with new parenthood. While you're negotiating, I recommend discounting lack of experience as a reason for opting out of any task. Every parent has to fill the parenting position to the best of their abilities, and it's obviously understood that this will involve a lot of on-the-job training. Sleep. Technically, sleep, or lack thereof, falls under the baby duties heading, But I'm calling it out because you'll find it at the root of many early parenting squabbles. Even if sleep isn't the exact cause of your fight, odds are fatigue is playing a significant role. There is no way to adequately prepare yourself for the lack of sleep your life will include once that life also includes a baby. So your huddle is useless in that regard. But you can discuss your upcoming change in sleep patterns and agree to be conscious of sharing the load. Recently, a new, tired mom told me about feeding her son in the middle of the night. She was nursing in a rocking chair in her room. From this rocking chair, she could see her husband sleeping soundly in bed. This enraged her. She yelled at her husband to wake up. He was startled awake and was very confused. He wondered why he needed to be awake while she was breastfeeding. What was the point? She screamed, "If I'm awake, you have to be awake." And so then, everyone was awake. Honestly, there's not much partners can do to alleviate the lack of sleep breastfeeding mothers get. But they can at least try to minimize the suffering. In my house, Becky would get up each time one of the babies needed to feed in the middle of the night. She would get the baby out of its crib, change its diaper, get it redressed, and present it to me for feeding. All I would have to do is stumble down the hallway and collapse in the nursery chair. After she handed me the baby, she double-checked that I had a large cup of water and anything else I needed before she headed back to bed. No, she wasn't up for as long as I was, and her body wasn't single-handedly keeping a baby alive, but I appreciated that she climbed out of bed several times a night to help me get the baby changed and fed. It gave me 5 extra minutes to stay horizontal, and I felt a stronger solidarity with her in the morning. Trust me, if you are the partner to a nursing mom, the last thing you want is to look well-rested in the morning. That is not going to end well for you. Another thing to keep in mind is that not all baby crying can be solved by shoving a boob in its face. There were plenty of times when my babies decided that crying for hours on end was a delightful way to pass the middle of the night hours. My magical boobs wouldn't help this crying, and I needed reinforcements. During these times, Becky and I would trade off bouncing the irate baby around the house, trying to calm it down. She would bounce for an hour or two while I slept, and then we'd switch. This not only alleviated some of the pressure on me, but also gave Becky a chance to bond with the babies. A lot of times men will shy away from comforting their babies because they feel like their wife is so much better at it. That means that the wife takes over comforting the baby when it's fussy, and then eventually she becomes the only one who can comfort the fussy baby. See how that works out? In my relationship, I was definitely less comfortable with babies than Becky was. She had been around babies her whole life and instinctively knew what to do with them. I, on the other hand, was terrified of infants and had made it a point to avoid them at all cost. When my first newborn arrived, I expected a maternal switch to click on and send waves of mommy instincts through my veins. That did not happen. In the beginning, when my baby cried or fussed, I immediately handed her over to Becky, because she knew what to do. Unfortunately, I was the keeper of the magic boobs, so there were a lot of times when I wasn't able to simply hand the baby off and run screaming into the night. When I think back on that time, I realize how grateful I am that I breastfed Vivian. It forced me to get to know her. It left me alone with her for hours on end, hours I spent figuring out how to operate a newborn. This is all to say that neither partner is going to get good at parenting by handing the child off when the parenting gets difficult. If you are the one who is more comfortable with babies, make it a point to force your partner to learn. Hand them the baby and disappear for a while. Under a comforter in bed, perhaps? Don't judge their clumsy beginnings. Let them make mistakes and stumble through figuring out how to operate your child. If you are the less experienced partner, force yourself to take the screaming baby, even when every part of you is uncomfortable with the idea. You will not break the baby, and it's already screaming, so how much worse can it get? Agreeing early on that you will share the baby load, especially in those endless nighttime hours, will cut down on resentment and will ensure that you both are equally exhausted, as it should be. House duties. While it will feel like your new baby has taken over your entire life, there will also be other matters that still need tending to. For instance, this child will produce an incomprehensible amount of laundry, and their arrival in your house will somehow trigger a huge, permanent pile of dishes in your sink. I'm not sure of the science behind either of these facts, but I know them to be true. Even though, again, it turns out we aren't living in the 1950s, A lot of couples have issues when it comes to dividing up the various house duties of the house they are both residing in. Casey, one of my MOFL, said her husband was extremely helpful and involved in the care of all of her babies. But she said, looking back, I wish I would have laid more groundwork for the other household chores. Sometimes the cooking, grocery shopping, and laundry can become overwhelming, especially if you are working at all. I think the roles need to be defined early on. This is another subject that may seem silly to discuss in advance because, of course, each partner is going to help out with keeping their home in running order. I mean, really. But just for shits and giggles, maybe add a list of household chores to your pre-baby negotiations and agree to split them up post-baby. In the early days, if one partner is spending most of her time as a feeding machine for the child, then it would seem more than a little bit fair if her partner picked up most of the household duties. As the baby gets older, keep this conversation going and make sure that you both continue to share the load when it comes to keeping your house running. Dealing with different maternity and/or paternity leaves can complicate the distribution of duties, but that should be discussed before the baby arrives as well. It's easy to assume that one partner going back to work automatically means that the other partner is solely responsible for the baby and the house. I would highly recommend avoiding this assumption if you happen to be the partner returning to work first. Yes, everyone is aware that you have to get up and go to work tomorrow, but we are also aware that you agreed to bring a new person into the world and in doing so agreed to help care for that person. So get your ass out of bed and help with your child. You can nap on your lunch break tomorrow. The distribution of house duties can get especially tricky if one parent is working less or staying home full-time with the child. There have been many men who have walked into their house after work, looked around at the mess, and said, "What have you been doing all day?" These men have barely survived to tell the tale. If you are the partner who is working more, it is in your best interest to come home with the assumption that your second shift of the day is starting. How can you help? Can you make dinner? Can you clean up the kitchen? Can you take the baby so that your partner can lock themselves in the bathroom for a half hour and decompress from a day spent with an infant? If I were you, I would assume the answer is always all of the above. Another suggestion I have in this area is to look into the cost of hiring a housekeeper. I am not kidding. Having a housekeeper come reset your home once or twice a month is like having those magical animals from Disney movies come shine the inside of your house. It'll make your soul so happy you may even whistle a little tune. You may think you don't have the money for a housekeeper in your budget, but you'd be surprised how cheap they can be, especially if they are only coming once or twice a month. Put the expense in the healthcare category of your budget, because it will aid in the health of your brain tremendously. Family and friends. Bringing a new baby home is one of the most stressful times in a person's life, and for some reason, it's also the time when everyone wants to come over and visit. These people mean well, but sometimes they are a giant pain in the ass. I've heard horror stories of mothers-in-law who insist on moving in to help with the baby and then never leave, or friends who pop in unannounced and stay through dinner that they don't help make. There is no way to know for sure how you're going to feel about visitors or imposing in-laws until you are knee-deep in diapers and hormones, but it's still a good idea to set some boundaries beforehand. Get out your paper and pencil because this should be documented. Which family and friends do you want to come visit you at the hospital? Make a list. That's right, write it down. Then hand it to your partner. It will be the partner's job to enforce that list. Oh, they're both sleeping right now. It's not a great time for a visit. How about we connect once we get home? Or maybe in 4 years? Also, be prepared to alter that list down to 0 if you aren't filling up for visitors. Yes, this may hurt some feelings, but they'll get over it. Once you head home, your dance card will be full of people wanting to give the baby a twirl. Some days you may feel like opening up the welcome gates, and others you may want to hide in the closet and ignore any and all knocks at the door. It might be a good idea to warn any particularly sensitive well-wishers, mother-in-law, that you may need some space for a little while. Assure them now that you love them and value them, but you cannot be held accountable for becoming a hormonal hermit after you have your baby. If you are uncomfortable, get your partner to do it. You're the one who carried the baby for 9 months. Your partner can endure the 9 seconds it takes to keep an overeager well-wisher away. Conversely, there'll be friends and family who go out of their way to keep their distance, even though they want nothing more than to snuggle your child for hours. These people may not want to impose, and you may get your feelings hurt because they aren't clamoring to come over. Let the important people in your life know in advance that you want them to come see the baby. Then follow up once you are feeling social. Another partner corner. I reached out to my MOFL to ask them how their partners had contributed when their babies were brand new. Many said their husbands stepped up in a big way to help out, whereas others bemoaned their partner's lack of involvement. But the response I got from Sarah was the one I thought you partners should hear. I remembered visiting Sarah when her first baby was only a couple of weeks old. She was exhausted and overwhelmed. During the visit, I noticed her husband changed the baby's diapers several times. When I complimented him on it, he said he was changing all the diapers. It was the least he could do, because she grew a baby and pushed it out. I remember thinking this was very cute. I reminded Sarah about these diaper changes, and she said, "Yes, he did. With my first baby, I don't think I changed a diaper at all until he was like 3 weeks old. He also took 1 feeding a night so I could get at least a 4-hour stretch of sleep. He did a lot of sweet things. However, at the time I didn't feel that way. Damn hormones." I'm sharing Sarah's thoughts with you, dear partners, because it's important for you to know that even if you do everything right, make concerted efforts to contribute, and go out of your way to help, the odds are your baby mama might not heap praise on you, or even express gratitude. So don't expect a gold star for your efforts. But don't let this deter you from doing the right thing. Parenting in general is a pretty thankless task, so you should get used to it right out of the gate. Your pregnancy week by week. How big is your baby? Week 26. Cotton candy. At about 14 inches, your baby is about the size of a soft and fluffy stick of cotton candy. Doesn't it make you feel better about childbirth to think of your baby as soft and fluffy? Week 27. Cauliflower? My pregnancy apps say that your baby is the size of cauliflower at 27 weeks. But they also say that your baby is 14.5 inches long. I don't actually eat cauliflower and am morally opposed to the rash of people trying to incorporate it into everyday life. Stop it with the cauliflower pizza, please. But I don't recall cauliflower being 14.5 inches big. Maybe your baby is huddled up into a cauliflower ball? Week 28. Really cute boots. You know those really cute boots women wear? The ones that zip all the way up the side and in just below her knee? She rocks them with a cute skirt a la Kalinda on The Good Wife. Your baby, at about 15 inches long from head to toe, is about as long as those boots. If you have any of those boots, you should wear them now. Jam your swollen feet into them and take them for a spin. Because they will be replaced by very sensible shoes / maybe even just slippers after you bring home a newborn. Week 29. Balloon. Your baby is a little over 15 inches long this week, which is about the size of your average balloon, except your balloon and your belly aren't done inflating just yet. Week 30. Tiny animals. At about 15 3/4 inches from head to toe, your baby is now much closer in size to living animals found in the wild than to fruit or vegetables found in the produce section. Fourth quarter, 31 to 40 weeks. Your pregnancy week by week. How big is your baby? Weeks 31 through 34. This is getting out of hand. This is the time in your pregnancy when knowing the size of the baby stops being helpful and starts getting alarming. Sure, it's great that your fetus is growing and developing on schedule, but there aren't many days left on the calendar before you will have to negotiate that growing child out of you. And its ever-increasing size is ever-increasingly stressing you out. Your baby is ranging from 16 to 18 inches these weeks, and I'm not a fan of any of the produce comparison these sizes bring along. Maybe think of a soft loaf of bread, or 4 rolls of toilet paper stacked on top of one another. Or don't. Instead, why don't you go eat something with lots of calories or reorganize the nursery for the 734th time? These are much more positive uses of your time. Pregnancy WOD, Month 8. All right, people, it's almost go time. You're huge, you're uncomfortable, and this baby thing is becoming more real by the second. But don't worry, you're prepared. You've mastered your pregnancy WOD, and you are in the home stretch now. Do this last set of workouts, and you will officially earn your Ready for All the Shit Coming My Way certificate. It will be the envy of all parents who hear of your feat. Number 1. Spill milk on your shirt in the morning. Walk around the rest of the day, and maybe the next day, wearing the stained shirt. As you can tell by your previous month's WODs, bathing and personal appearance will plummet down your list of things to care about once you have a baby. On the flip side, think of all the time you will save when you stop changing your clothes every day. What a life hack! Stains on clothes are usually a reason to implement one of those laborious outfit changes. But soon you will pay no attention to stifling social norms such as this. All babies do is stain clothes, their own and those of everyone in their general vicinity. They poop, pee, spit up, and throw food. If you were to change your clothes every time they were stained by a baby, you would burn through your wardrobe by day 3. And then you'll be left to breastfeed while wearing that old bridesmaid's dress that has been buried in the back of your closet for 6 years. And no one needs to see that. When you first tackle this WOD, start with only a milk stain. Then slowly add more stains, food and bodily fluids, to your shirt and build up your tolerance for wearing soiled clothing. Finally break down and change your outfit when people physically remove themselves from your presence because of your smell. Number 2. Go to Chuck E. Cheese on a Saturday afternoon during prime birthday party time. Put on a party hat and join one of the celebrations. That's right. Get up in the thick of the singing, screaming, germ-spreading, and crappy pizza. Stay as long as you can handle it. Then stay another hour. We are getting down to the wire here. Your tolerance for noise and chaos needs to be on point. If there aren't at least 3 different parties occurring when you visit Chuck E. Cheese, come back at a later time. This is no time for slacking. Number 3. Set off the alarm in your house, then make an important phone call. Any and all phone calls after you have children will become an exercise in tolerance for both yourself and anyone who has the misfortune of having to speak to you. Trying to have a conversation while a blaring alarm goes off in the background is about as close as you're going to get to practicing for phone calls with a baby anywhere near you. The good news is, it'll be a while until the baby can chase after you. So also practice fleeing into a closet and building a soundproof fortress out of sweatshirts, parkas, and shoeboxes. While you're there, set up a comfortable area for yourself. This will be where you conduct most of your phone calls as a parent. While I don't want to deter you from mastering this WOD, I will also note that most parents give up on phone calls as a means of communication on about day 3 of parenting. In addition to the above alarm/closet scenario, you should also practice ignoring any and all calls that come in. Train your people now to expect only text messages from you for the next 3 to 5 years. Number 4. If you plan to breastfeed, ask a friend to grab your boobs and pull them halfway across the room. Do this several times a day so you aren't completely horrified by what a breast pump does to your body. Number 4A. If you plan to bottle feed, fill an empty water bottle with milk. Have a friend hide the bottle somewhere in your house. Wait 2 weeks, then find the bottle. Open the bottle, sniff. Do this several times so you can build up a tolerance for the numerous wretched bottles you will lose and then unfortunately find over the course of your child's babyhood. Chapter 14. And now, we nest. Or not. Since the beginning of time, pregnant women have been overcome by a primal urge to prepare their home for their unborn child. They have cleaned and painted and organized and assembled. They have made DIY mobiles and baby-proofed every cupboard in sight. This need comes from somewhere deep inside of a pregnant woman, a switch that is flipped, alerting the rest of the body that it's go time for motherhood. This phase has come to be known as nesting, and you've probably heard a lot about it. In fact, every time you've put a onesie away in the closet or straightened a crooked picture frame, you've probably been accused of this nesting. Oh, look at you, so cute, organizing the fridge. It's the nesting instinct, you know. To which you might have answered, well, I'm just putting the food away that I bought at the store. I'm not sure what pregnancy has to do with it. To which there was probably the response of a knowing nod because of course you were nesting and had no idea. The nesting instinct can be very, very strong for some women, whereas others couldn't possibly be bothered to exert the amount of energy needed to get into it. There's no way to tell where you are going to land on the scale, but I say lean into whatever nesting instincts you have, no matter how little or big they are. The months before your baby arrives will be the last time you are able to get anything done around your house for a very long time, so it's probably a good idea to take advantage of it. It's not that you won't ever be able to accomplish another house project after you have a baby, but let's just say your schedule isn't going to be quite as open post-birth. Finding the time to hang pictures or paint a wall will fall very far down on your shit I have energy for list once you are a parent. At the top of the list will be staring at my ugly walls for 5 minutes without blinking because I think I might have just fallen asleep while sitting up. It's a really fun list. If you are overcome with the need to orchestrate a deep cleaning on your house or to reorganize every cupboard at 10 p.m., go for it. Warn your partner to stay out of your way, though, because you cannot and will not be stopped. It's best for everyone if you are allowed your time in your nesting spiral. If you aren't feeling a nesting instinct, that's okay too. But do yourself a favor and at least get some important stuff done. Get a crib, or at least a bassinet, and a comfy chair for feedings. You don't have to paint or go overboard with decor, but you'll thank yourself later if you organize the clothes by size and set up a stack of diapers or two. Do it for future tired you. If you really want to do future tired you a favor, you also might want to stock up on quick and easy meals, like canned soups, dinners from the frozen food aisle, and peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and jelly is going to make a big reappearance in your life soon enough anyway, and you'll realize how much you've missed it the last 15 years or so. You could also prepare some meals and freeze them in advance. Or if your cooking abilities are in line with mine, you can find out what restaurants around you offer delivery services. Grab their menus and make a little binder for easy perusing. Future tired you loves delivery. Moms on the front lines. To nest or not? When I asked my MOFL about their nesting instinct, they seemed to range from OCD to, oh, there's a baby coming soon? Sarah. I cleaned and reorganized the entire house. I painted the nursery, which took over 20 hours because I painted polka dots on the lower half of the wall. Debbie. We moved when I was pregnant. This may come as a surprise to you, but I retiled the boys' entire bathroom floor at 8.5 months pregnant. That was just one room. It got much worse. Tara. We moved into a new house and I wasn't able to do a lot of it myself. I mostly just bossed my husband and our parents around. Michelle. I was working full-time and figured I would nest once I was on maternity leave. I had exactly 7 days off work before I had my son 2.5 weeks early. Who does that with their first? I was too busy visiting with family, napping, and getting ready for Christmas to deal with any nesting. Melanie. Nesting? What is that? I was at work one day, my water broke overnight, I was in the hospital the next day, and the following day he arrived, 3 weeks early. The only thing I had done to prepare was pack my husband a bag of treats for the hospital stay. That was handy. Stephanie. I did not nest. I think I was worried to do too much for fear it jinxed the pregnancy. Or maybe I was really lazy. We didn't even pick our crib up from the store until he was over 6 months old. In my defense, I thought I'd have more time since he was my first. He was a week early. For some reason, I was absolutely certain he'd be late. Stephanie made the common assumption that her first baby would be late. It's an old wives' tale we all hear, and for some reason it sticks. We did something similar, but instead of assuming Vivian would be late, we looked at the due date as an absolute arrival date, as though we were picking up the child at the airport. She is due on the 23rd, so we still have a few weeks. Becky had major house projects planned for the week before Vivian was due, and she immediately started doing some of them when I went into labor a week early. Because installing a ceiling fan is a perfectly logical way to pass the time when someone is having contractions in the next room. Don't be like us. Get your shit together before you are having contractions. Get a crib or a bassinet, buy some diapers, and organize the closet a bit. You might be a procrastinator, but there's no guaranteeing that your baby is inheriting that trait. Dear Bean Letters, Week 35, Nesting. Dear Bean, today we finally got around to ordering your nursery furniture. This is great news, as generally it's a good idea to have a nursery set up in advance of a baby coming to live in your home. At least, this is what I've been told. Apparently, because I am pregnant, I am supposed to be very interested in getting this house ready for you. There's supposed to be a hormone swirling around in my body that inspires me to nest. Unfortunately for you, I think I'm nesting deficient. I mean, I understand on a logical level that it's important to get the house ready for your arrival. But on an emotional level, I'm not quite ready to dive in. And there will need to be diving, because the amount of crap we have piled up in your nursery has become a bit daunting. For the past 7 months or so, we have been accumulating any and all things baby. We've gladly taken boxes and boxes of hand-me-downs. Friends and family have bought you piles of gifts, and we've had three baby showers. I guess gathering all of this stuff is a sort of nesting, in that we are gathering up everything we need to build the nest. The problem is, all of this baby stuff amounts to the twigs and leaves of our nest. And instead of spending time assembling the nest, we have just thrown all the twigs and leaves and burp cloths into your room and quickly shut the door behind them. We've been throwing/shutting for months now, and the floor of your room is officially a distant memory. There are boxes on boxes, bags on bags, and nothing on furniture because we don't have any of that yet. But we do have some really nice twigs and leaves in that pile, so at least our nest has a lot of potential. When we ordered your crib and dresser today, the sales lady said it would arrive in 4 to 6 weeks. I shrugged and said okay. It wasn't until later that I realized that you are due in 5 weeks and may beat your bed home. It's not that we aren't excited for you to arrive, for you to need all of the stuff currently jammed into your room. But it still seems absolutely surreal that you are planning an appearance in a few short weeks. I've spent years dreaming about you, and now that you are so close to being real, I'm having a little trouble believing it. It took me months to work up the courage to actually buy you anything from the baby store, because somehow it felt like bragging. Look at me, I'm having a baby. She will be perfect and healthy, and of course I will get to use all of this baby stuff I am buying because my pregnancy is destined for greatness. I wasn't comfortable bragging so early on in my pregnancy. What if something went wrong? Even now I feel like setting up your nursery could jinx this thing we have going. Painting walls, sorting clothes, and coordinating bedding feels cocky. Something could still go wrong. But I'm 35 weeks pregnant. You spend your days, and mostly my nights, flipping and kicking and generally keeping me very aware that you are very real. It's officially time to stop worrying about all the things that could go wrong, and to start decorating for all the things that are going to go right. So tomorrow we will throw open the door to your room, wade into our twigs and leaves, and start assembling your nest. We will organize your clothes by size, we will pile diapers and bibs and burp cloths in an orderly fashion. We will assemble baby whatnots with abandon. And slowly, we will find that floor that has been lost to my fear for so many months. It's a really nice floor, which is good because you may be sleeping on it until your crib arrives. Chapter 15. Try not to think about the childbirth math too much. Maybe concentrate more on the possibility of an epidural. I'm a planner. I like to be prepared. I like to be good at things. Although I'm creative, I also thrive on order, routine, and logic. Once I find a solution to a problem, I like using that solution over and over again to make my life easier. This way of tackling obstacles has come in very handy throughout my life. But it is absolute shit when applied to anything having to do with pregnancy, children, and parenting in general. Before they even arrive, babies have a way of letting it be known that they have no time for any attempts at order and/or logic. Pregnancy will become the first in a never-ending string of child-related equations that seem to mock you with their frustrating inability to be solved. Most frustratingly immune to all attempts at research and planning is baby day one, the delivery. Sure, pregnancy is pretty predictable. There are doctors and books and apps that can tell you what is happening to and inside your body at every second of the 40-week science experiment your uterus is conducting. But no matter how many doctors, books, and apps you consult, none can tell you with absolute certainty how that science experiment is going to make its way out of said uterus. It's actually quite appropriate that you begin this parenting adventure with feelings of confusion and incompetence as you try to wrap your brain around the imminent exit of a watermelon from your decidedly less than watermelon size escape route. Confusion and incompetence are going to become pretty standard throughout this journey, so you might as well get comfortable with them early on. There's just so much you can't know for sure. Will you have a natural birth? A cesarean? Will the baby come early or late or right on time? Will it come quickly or take its sweet time making an appearance? And most important, will you poop on the table during delivery? All those books and doctors and apps tend to do a collective shoulder shrug when asked to give expectant moms a firm answer to the age-old question, how will this child make its way out of me? Sure, you can make a birth plan. You can spend 9 months outlining every detail of your vision down to the music that will be playing and the lighting in the delivery room. You can color code this plan. You can put My Birth Plan at the top of the page in a modern yet sophisticated font. You can print multiple copies, laminate them, because things can get messy and you are prepared for such things, and hand them out to all the potential players. No, it doesn't hurt to give a copy to your favorite taxi driver. You never know if his services will be required. And if doing all that helps ease your mind, then by all means, laminate away. But when it comes to baby day one, the delivery, it's best for you to accept early and often that no amount of research or lamination or color coding is going to change the fact that you really have no idea how everything is going to go down. I don't mean for this to freak you out even more than you are already freaked out about your delivery. My hope is to actually help you relax a bit and let go of some of the stress that comes with trying to orchestrate a situation that is so far beyond your ability to control. The first time I was pregnant, I obsessed over how the delivery would play out. I read birth stories, I watched birth videos, I went to birthing classes. I asked my poor doctor hundreds of questions about every possible birthing scenario. Which were the best? Which were the worst? How bad can it get? What's the craziest thing she'd ever seen? I gathered all this information under the guise of educating myself, because the more I knew, the less surprises there could be, right? But really, I was just obsessing over something I had very little control over. And no matter how much information I gathered, my birth story was going to unfold however it decided to. I tried to remind myself of this fact often, even as I was stockpiling any and all birthing possibilities. I worked to maintain a pretty go-with-the-flow attitude about my impending birth. I didn't craft a multi-page birth plan. I was chill. I was zen. I was prepared to take things as they came. I mean, as long as they came with drugs, obviously. Epidural, epidural, and a side of epidural were the only things I knew for sure I needed during my delivery. The shining promise of an epidural was the one thing that kept my brain from overloading while contemplating the childbirth math. Delivering a baby was scary as hell, but I could totally do it, as long as I was guaranteed not to actually have to feel any of it, of course. You didn't really expect me to be zen without pharmaceutical intervention, did you? My biggest fear was that I would arrive at the hospital too late to get that fantasized over epidural, but I also didn't want to arrive so early that they sent me home for being a big wimp who thought she was ready to push when she was only 1 centimeter dilated. The good news is, it turns out I'm not a wimp. The bad news is, my biggest fear occurred after I was wheeled into the hospital screaming for drugs and was denied them because I was 9.5 centimeters dilated by the time I got there. This was very bad news, and was also the end of the Zen, coincidentally. I go into great detail about my first delivery in my book, The Shit No One Tells You, A Guide to Surviving Your Baby's First Year, should you be looking for a play-by-play on that particular birth story. But I will sum it up for you here. Arrive at the hospital, scream for drugs, denied drugs, many, many F words, sliced hoo-ha, baby pops out less than an hour after arriving at hospital, the end. Why am I not going into great detail about my delivery in a book titled The Shit No One Tells You About Pregnancy? Because I personally think people tell you too much shit about the birth process. The universe apparently has some unwritten rule wherein a woman must be bombarded with any and all birth stories the second she is noticeably pregnant. You know, my sister's friend's cousin had the craziest thing happen during her delivery. Oh, please do tell me all about it, because I wasn't really wanting to have a peaceful slumber tonight anyway. I'm not going to tell you the finer details of either of my births. The second one involved wonderful, wonderful drugs and took hours upon hours to play out, because I don't think my births have anything to do with your birth. And neither birth story involves me saying, dude, the baby fell out. No lie, like she was greased up or something. Easiest thing I've ever done. And unless I'm able to offer you that sort of reassurance, I don't want to contribute to your anxiety. I asked my MOFL whether they felt the same way about hearing birth stories while pregnant, and their opinions were mixed. Sarah, mom of 2, said she loved hearing birth stories. She said, but then I would stay awake all night worrying about the actual birth. John didn't mind hearing different stories unless they contained tales of tearing or pooping. She said, I was mortified of pooping happening during childbirth, so the whole time I pushed during Austin's birth, I kept repeating, I'm so sorry if I poop, over and over. Poor nurses. Brooke, who was not meaning to, actually made my point with her opinion. She said, I liked hearing stories, but each individual birth goes how it goes. Hearing stories doesn't change that. Yes, it goes how it goes. And it's going to go whether you spend your pregnancy gathering piles of information or you pass the time binge-watching Breaking Bad. And watching a show about a peaceful man who transforms into a ruthless drug lord might actually give you some ideas on how to handle the situation if you, too, are denied an epidural during your delivery. Delivering a baby isn't a test that you will fail if you don't study enough. And you aren't going to be sent home from the hospital in the middle of your birth and told to return when you've perfected your Lamaze breathing. When the baby decides it's time, or your doctor decides it's time, your birth will unfold in whatever way it's going to. Getting too wrapped up in how it's going to unfold is a good way to experience a 9-month panic attack, followed by a delivery filled with an extraordinary amount of F-bombs. Not that there is anything wrong with F-bombs as a relaxation technique. Jen learned this lesson with her first delivery, after spending months diligently preparing and planning for her birth. She said, I think I read every book on what to expect. I took 2 different classes. I had a detailed birth plan. I was well prepared. Then when it came time to actually birth the baby, all that shit went out the window and I just started screaming, "Give me drugs now!" Another MOFL, Mary, was an encyclopedia of birthing knowledge when she went into her first delivery. She even took hypnobirthing classes to help with her zen. Then her birth plan went a little off the rails. She said, "Man, I studied birth like it was my job. I was an idiot. It set me up with high expectations. Peaceful home birth, no drugs, relaxed with no pain. And when it all went to shit, I had a really hard time getting over it. I think the hypnobirthing classes were good for the deep breathing aspect. Laboring at home was helped by that for a little while. 17 hours later, I was screaming in a hospital like everyone else. The second time was much better. I went the doctor/hospital route and just let it all go. Much easier, less PTSD. My recommendations for preparing for your birth: plug your ears when anyone starts to tell you a birth story. Odds are they aren't anxious to tell you a story that isn't in some way batshit crazy. Another recommendation: don't Google anything having to do with delivery complications. Just don't. Your doctors and nurses and midwives have already Googled everything and, even spent decades actually studying the medicine having to do with the delivering of babies. It's almost as if it's their job. Also, don't Google the word episiotomy. More nope. More advice. Accept that when a human pushes hard enough to get another human out of her body, that same human is also pushing hard enough to get poop out of her body. It's just a fact. It'll probably happen. I know it sounds horrifying, but let me calm your fears by assuring you that you will have no idea that it is happening, nor will it seem like that big of a deal compared to the human body pushing its way out of you at the time. And also, those doctors and nurses deliver babies all day. You are not the first person that hour who has pooped in front of them. I also recommend avoiding the birthing classes if at all possible because they are a day-long freakout fest. They will show you videos, give you tips, and distribute pamphlets, but somehow they leave you feeling less prepared than when you entered the room. I retain 2 things from my birthing class. Number 1, sitting on a yoga ball will help when dealing with contractions. This was bullshit and didn't help at all because it turns out nothing helps the feeling of a human trying to force its way out of your vagina. Number 2, a partner can assist the birthing baby mama by offering her ice chips and/or chapstick. The chapstick one really struck us as particularly funny because it seems so absurd to think that chapstick would in any way assist in the delivering of a human baby. In the weeks leading up to the birth, Becky would constantly offer me chapstick when I complained about whatever pregnancy discomfort I was experiencing at the moment. We'd laugh. Then she offered it on our drive to the hospital in an attempt to distract me from my excruciating pain. I told her to shut the hell up. Seriously, skip the birthing class and spend the day getting a couple's massage and/or doing something you enjoy doing together that won't be possible once there is a baby added to your equation. Might I suggest binge watching Breaking Bad? Your birth story will be nothing like any that you've ever heard, because none of those stories involve your negotiating a person out of your own uterus. There is no book or blog you can read or listen to that will tell you about your birth story because your story hasn't been written yet. When it is written, it'll seem similar to other stories yet somehow magnificently unique, just like the baby it brings into the world. Birth is just a tiny blimp in the scheme of pregnancy and parenting, a matter of hours out of a whole lifetime. You can do anything for a matter of hours, especially if you know there's a new baby waiting for you at the end. So instead of frantically researching all the different ways a delivery can go, why don't you Google adorable newborn photos? Because I guarantee they are the best part of any birth story. And those pictures are the beautiful ending you should be keeping in mind no matter what happens during your story. Or maybe watch some of those videos that play before an athlete competes in the Olympics. The ones that show all the work they put in, all the sacrifices, pulled muscles, setbacks, and sweat that led to their big gold medal moment. Your road to your baby, however winding or difficult, is almost to its gold medal end. You just have to get through the last 50-yard dash of childbirth. Or maybe I should compare childbirth to curling, because no one has any idea what is going on in curling. There are a lot of people working very hard, frantic, frowning, and yelling, all trying to get the curling thing to the middle of a bullseye. There are hugs and high fives when the bullseye is hit, just like childbirth. So take a deep breath and get zen about what is coming your way. The end of pregnancy, the beginning of your baby, and the best gold medal anyone has ever received. Partner Corner. If you've listened to the rest of this chapter, you will see that I highly recommend that your baby mama go into her delivery with a laid-back approach. I've told her that the doctors and nurses have it handled, that everything is going to be fine, and it probably will, but it also might not. And that's where you come in, dear partner. You have a job during the delivery, and it's nearly as important as the job the baby mama has, because it's your job to keep the baby mama from losing her shit during labor. Or, if she's losing her shit, then at the very least, you need to try to keep her from going completely off the rails. And while I tried to discourage your baby mama from getting too wrapped up in planning an unplannable birthing experience, I'm going to need you to get your plan on well before go time. Now, you don't need to make a 4-page birth plan or even watch a lot of birthing videos to prepare. But you do need to ask some questions. Your baby mama most likely has some ideas of how she wants her birth to go down. And you probably think she'll do just fine letting those ideas be known, because you've never known her to be particularly shy when asked to express an opinion. But here's the thing. She's going to have a person pushing its way out of her. So she might not be in the right frame of mind to articulate her thoughts. And at the time, her thoughts will primarily be made up of loud screeching sounds and regret for thinking any of this was a good idea. That's where you come in. Yes, there will be highly skilled nurses and doctors and more nurses and doctors, but your baby mama is going to need you to be her voice to those nurses and doctors if her voice is preoccupied with screaming the before-mentioned F-bombs. Before the birth. A few months before the baby is due, sit down with your baby mama and hash out some details. Does she want drugs? Does she want a doula? Does she want to be induced? Does she want a C-section? Does she want skin-to-skin contact right after the baby is born? Who does she want in the room with her when the baby is being born? Does she want any special music/outfit/birthing ball? Is there anything else that is especially important to her? Anything she is especially scared of? Talk about all of these things. Write down her answers. Talk about them again as the due date gets closer. Study them. You will be tested later. During the birth. Your job is to take all of her wishes with you into that delivery room and to fight for them if she needs you to. Your job is also to not fight too hard if at any point she says she's changed her mind. I didn't say your job was easy. If you are confused about whether you should fight for something or give in, ask the doctors and nurses to give you a few minutes alone to discuss the issue. Once you are alone, take a deep breath, ask her what she wants, and then try to make that happen for her. If you can't make it happen, try to calm her fears and assure her everything is going to be okay, even if you don't know that. After the birth. After the baby arrives, you are still on the job. Now your job is doubled. Your baby mama may be tired or sore or overwhelmed, so she still needs your help. And your baby, well, it's a baby, so it's going to need your help for a while. If your baby mama is planning on nursing, ask for a lactation consultant as soon as that baby pops out, and pay attention when that consultant visits. Keep taking your notes. You are getting so much extra credit, I promise. After both of our kids were born, my partner stayed with them wherever they went. She held their hands as they were being cleaned up. She went with them when they had to get any testing done. She stood watch when the nurses poked and prodded. She was my eyes and ears, which allowed me to relax a little, knowing that they were being protected. You may have no idea what to do with a birthing baby mama or a newborn, but that's okay. Just show up. Be prepared to speak up and watch over both of them. Be a real partner. Also, you too are entitled to liberal use of F-bombs, which you will most likely find quite helpful while navigating this time, and for the next few years, to be honest. Go team! Partner Corner. Bringing out baby. Jeremy. As D-Day neared, the anxiety built. First time around, anyway. But I was never scared until there was a real chance, a genuine fucking chance, I was going to lose both of them during labor with the first kid. And there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. I was helpless. I'm the guy who fixes things. Everything. I can build hot rods from scratch. I design thousands of complete vehicles at work and get them built. But in that case, I didn't have the tools, and that sucked. Krista. The experience of being on what's typically a male side of the birth experience was amazing. I saw the experience of birth in a whole new way. I watched the miracle of it and cut the cord. I felt at such a loss as to how to help my wife handle the pain, but I was mesmerized by the birth of my third son. Jason. We had our second son at home. It was the most relaxing thing ever. No stress at all. We even visited the Jack in the Box drive-thru to get her a shake about 6 hours into labor. I just let her do what she wanted to do, and we had a very relaxing time. I know it sounds odd. Matt. My wife was in labor and I kept saying, "Come on, time to go." She stopped, looked at me and said, I'm not going anywhere." "What?" "Grab some towels." "I need to wash my hands." "You don't have time." "What?" "He's coming." I threw towels on the ground, called 911, and Griffin's head came out. Birthing Griffin in the hallway has given us a special bond. I don't believe in baloney like drinking warm water before bed to melt fat or that kale is good for you, but I do believe that Griffin and I have a special daddy-son relationship. Maybe it's because he's the youngest and he's so damn cute, or maybe it's because he dropped into my arms while I had the phone between my ear and shoulder screaming at the 911 operator who was trying to help me birth this kid. Meanwhile, imaginary block text was streaming across my field of vision. This is not happening. But it happened. We all survived. I was so amped, I beat the ambulance to the hospital with my wife and son in it. Your pregnancy, week by week. How big is your baby? Weeks 35 to 37. Try not to think about it. These are the weeks when we start running out of items in the produce section that are big enough to accurately be compared to your growing fetus. We are now forced to head over to the bulk aisle for adequate comparisons. Or better yet, let's head to the pet store. Your baby is between 18 and 19 inches during these weeks, and I think it's a lot easier to imagine him or her as a tiny animal, such as a puppy or a soft rabbit, instead of a very large piece of fruit. Animals are cute and snuggly and a lot more visually appealing than a melon of any sort. So instead of visualizing cold, hard melons, let's think about hugging a golden retriever puppy. You just can't go wrong with visualizing a puppy. Pregnancy WOD. Month 9. If you have ever trained for a long-distance run, like a full or a half marathon, then you are likely familiar with recovery days and the tapering that comes at the end of your training. You spend months pushing your body and gradually increasing your mileage, and then in the few weeks before your big event, you taper off to allow your body a little recovery time before tackling your final run. Parenting is a lot like a marathon, if a marathon lasted for decades instead of a few hours. So I've designed my training program in a similar fashion to a marathon training program. This last month, we were all about tapering. And by tapering, I mean napping, because, of course. Number 1, nap for as long as your body will allow. Then nap a little more. Chapter 16. Good news, you're eating for 2. Bad news, both of you really like ice cream. Moo-moos might be your only option from here on out. At this point in your pregnancy, you may officially be all out of shits. You are in the home stretch. You can almost taste the epidural. It tastes like sunshine in poppy fields, FYI. And you don't particularly care that you look like you are carrying a litter of children in your uterus. You are big and beautiful, or at least big and all out of shits. Pregnancy weight gain can vary for every woman. Some women balloon up to a size that seems almost mathematically impossible, and others barely look pregnant until you see them from the side and notice their cute little belly. Sometimes women can spend most of their pregnancy in the cute belly category and then all of a sudden hurtle over into the balloon category in the final few weeks. I'm not sure if there's a scientific reason for this last-minute expansion, but I think it might have something to do with carbohydrates. In these last few weeks, you should heed the advice of your doctor if he or she seems concerned about your weight. But if your doctor doesn't seem concerned, it's officially F-it time. Eat whatever you want, reward your hard work, and enjoy these last few weeks of guilt-free calorie consumption. When I was 40 weeks pregnant, we visited a restaurant that was offering a deep-fried cheesecake with a side of ice cream, whipped cream, and raspberry sauce. I ordered it as my main course, because F it. You may be too tired or sore or lazy to move much these last few weeks. F it. You know what doesn't take any energy? Eating ice cream and binge-watching trashy television shows. Do that. All of that. Fall asleep doing that. Because nothing says 40 weeks pregnant like waking up at 2 p.m. covered in melted ice cream. You are a champion. As soon as that baby pops out, you will feel pressure, mostly self-imposed, to take off all this baby weight. It's nice that they call it baby weight instead of ice cream and Netflix weight, which is what it actually is. But let's save that stress for a later date. We have enough stress right now because we have opened a family-sized bag of chips and we can't find a chip clip, and the only way to keep the chips from going stale is to eat the whole bag. It's a very trying time. My point is, you are a badass who has grown a person inside of your body. This has not been easy, and we won't even get into how much more badassery is going to be needed to get the person out of your body. You deserve to treat yourself a little bit. I would tell you to do anything that makes you happy right now, but you are uncomfortable and irritable and very big. So your happy options are limited, which leaves calorie intake as one of your few reliable routes to smiles. So F it and eat it. Moms on the front lines. I asked my MOFL about their pregnancy weight gain and if the increasing scale number traumatized them. I also wanted to know whether they were able to take off the weight following their delivery and how their bodies looked post-baby making. None of us seemed to have made it out unscathed. Summer. I gained 45 pounds, and I only lost 6 in the delivery. Everyone said that I would feel so thin after delivery. No, I did not. It took a good year to get off the rest, with working out, running small races, hiring a personal trainer, and eating healthy. Apparently, my body just wanted to stay fat a little bit longer. Jen. I gained like 60 pounds with my first. I stopped working out when I found out I was pregnant because I was so nervous, first child syndrome. Towards the end, I literally stopped caring at all and I was eating an Oreo cookie milkshake every single night. I lost all the weight and then some. When I was pregnant with my second, I was doing boot camp 5 days a week, racing in frog leaps up until I was 6 months pregnant. I barely gained any weight. Then I was put on partial bed rest because my cervix was soft. I'm guessing it could have been the frog leaps, just saying. That's when I started putting on weight. Dana. I was totally traumatized by the weight gain with my first pregnancy because over half of it was put on in the first half of the pregnancy. I think by 20 weeks I'd gained 10 pounds between monthly appointments. My doctor told me to slow down. I had no idea why it was happening so fast, but I did eat a lot of ice cream. I left the hospital both times having only lost what the baby weighed. I did get it all off over the course of a year, both times with diet, exercising, and nursing. However, my body, even at my pre-pregnancy weight, does not look the same. Tara. I worked out throughout almost all of my first pregnancy. With my second, I gave up almost immediately. I just didn't have it in me. I don't have weight issues now, but my stomach looks like a popped balloon, and the rest of me will never be the same. Time to bury the bikini and go shopping for a cover-up. Partner Corner. Big and beautiful. Matt. It was neat seeing her grow and grow and grow. She had a crazy appetite. Pickles at midnight were nothing. Try kimchi at 3 a.m., or peanut butter pickled toast with ice chips that only came from a bakery 5 cities away. Becky. She didn't get huge. She was adorable. Jeremy. I had no problem with her getting bigger. She was cute. Kevin. I think women are beautiful when they are pregnant. My wife is very beautiful, and in my mind, that only intensified with her pregnancy. Jason. With the first pregnancy, she gained 80 pounds and had complications because of it. I got her into eating healthy and juicing to better combat the issues she was having, and I worked to support her when she was having a tough day. All I could do was try my best to be there for her and take lots of photos of her to assure her that she was still beautiful. Partner Corner. Advice for surviving pregnancy. Jason. Let her cry and don't always try to fix it. She doesn't want it fixed. She just wants to know you care. Jeremy. Relax. It will all be fine. And also, maybe grab some booze. Kevin. Always be present for your wife, especially when she's pregnant. I don't just mean be in the room with her, actually be there, both in mind and body. Matt. Don't run away, don't give up. It will be okay. Sleep is overrated anyway, and you can catch up on your rest when they're older. Keep the compliments up and keep doing 110%, whether or not you feel like it. It's time to grow up, and growing up is okay. It's all worth it. Your pregnancy week by week. How big is your baby? Weeks 38 through 40. At this point, you are about full term. You know what size your baby is? It's about the size of, wait for it, a baby. Yes, we have officially moved beyond the theoretical and into reality. The reality is you have a full-size baby in your uterus as we speak. And while that's scary, it's also really exciting, I swear. You're almost there. If you are wondering how big a newborn baby is, there are ways to gather this information. You could seek out a person who owns a new baby, or maybe look up a picture of a newborn on the internet. But honestly, at this point, I'd caution against any of that. What good could come of it, really? You'd find a baby, you'd hold it, you'd look at the size of its head, you'd start visualizing your own impending birth, and then you'd have a 3-week panic attack. These are your last weeks of freedom. Instead of breathing heavily into a paper bag, you should be napping and eating ice cream sundaes, in whatever order you choose. So put your pregnancy app down, walk away, and think tiny, soft thoughts. Do it for your brain. Do it for your vagina. She has enough stress coming her way. Let her have a little time off. Chapter 17. Packing for the hospital. Don't overthink it. Many women hope that their attention to packing pre-delivery will somehow positively influence the ease of their birth. If they pack just the right combo of items into their going to the hospital bag, perhaps everything else will fall into place and their delivery will go off without a hitch. They spend months creating the perfect list of bringable items, rounding up each object, and arranging them in their bag with Tetris-like precision. Other women are like me and wake up one morning with contractions and tell their partner it might be a good idea to pack a bag. When that partner asks what to pack, these women shrug, and then their partners shove roughly 872 items that happen to be in the general vicinity of their packing frenzy into a plastic bag from Target. If you are in the Tetris category, there's not much I can do to advise you on bag strategy, because I'm assuming you've already purchased 3 other books on the topic. And if packing 362 items helps you maintain your zen before your due date, then pack away. You most likely won't actually use 359 of the items in your bag, but being overly prepared may provide you a certain amount of reassurance as you head into childbirth. And anything that reassures is fine by me. If you are in the shrug category, I'm probably not going to motivate you to change your personality type. The thought of packing a bag might stress you out or annoy you, and I don't want to be responsible for either of those emotions in a pregnant lady. But I will tell you that you don't need a whole lot at the hospital, and the more you bring, the more you have to lug around from room to room throughout your stay. If you forget something, you can always send your partner out to get a needed item, or ask a friend to bring it for you. Here are a few things I think are worth throwing in a bag. Comfy, loose clothing, such as a swimsuit cover. The gowns they provide at the hospital are less than dignified and often leave you flashing your ass to the whole world every time you get up to pee. If you would like to spare the whole world this treat, you can grab a couple of soft swimsuit covers to wear during your birth and after. The ones I bought were strapless, fit snug around my boobs, and were loose down to my mid-thigh. They were very comfortable, allowed for easy access to my boobs and nether regions, 2 hot spots during delivery and your hospital stay, and still let me feel covered up. Toiletries. A nice shower will be ever so lovely after giving birth, so pack your favorite soap, shampoo, and conditioner to help you start feeling a little normal. Also, don't forget your toothbrush and toothpaste. Snacks. For you, for your partner, for the labor, for post-baby, you can never go wrong having snacks at arm's reach. Loose, disposable underwear. The hospital will have amazing mesh underwear for you to wear after birth, but you might want your own. Don't bring anything you are too attached to because it most likely won't survive what is coming out of your body. Nursing tank top. If you plan to nurse, you might want to bring a nursing tank top. I had a few of these and I wore them around the clock for about a year after both of my kids were born, because I am all about fashion. These things are like regular nursing bras, which offer you the ability to pop a boob out at any time, but they are built into a tank top that covers your belly. They are delightful. Outfits for the baby. Throw a bunch of onesies in the bag for your baby because they will soil through a few a day at least. Otherwise, your baby will be stuck wearing hospital onesies, which are about as pleasant as any other institutional wear. Look for onesies that have wide necks or zippers and not tons of buttons, because life is too short to spend it buttoning buttons that will only have to be unbuttoned 4 minutes later. Also bring that one special going home outfit for the baby, and maybe one for you too. Think loose and comfy for your outfit, adorable and picture-worthy for the child. Another bag. Bring along another empty bag. This is key. You know when you go on vacation and sometimes you bring an extra bag to hold all the crap you are going to buy on vacation? This is kind of like that, except instead of tacky magnets, you're going to want to bring home a ton of industrial-size maxi pads. And those things take up a lot of room. The hospital will have all sorts of things worth taking home, and you don't want to be left without a proper transportation device. First and foremost, you need to grab as many of the hospital nose sucker things as you can get your hands on. Start on day 1 and take all the replacement ones they bring in to restock your room. For some reason, the nose sucker things from the hospital are the only nose sucker things that actually work. Grab 300. Also, grab diapers, hats, blankets, Ladybit numbing spray, and perhaps a nurse or 2. Bring a bag big enough to take them all home with you. Treats for the nurses. This isn't required, but it's a nice thing to do. Nurses help you around the clock during your delivery and your first hours and days following your child's birth. They are attentive, informed, and answer all your stupid questions as if they haven't heard them 395 times that day. Bring them a box of chocolate or some other treat to show that you appreciate what they do every day for new babies and new parents. Also, maybe if you bribe them with sweets, they will look the other way when you leave the hospital with $36,000 in baby items in your extra bag. Don't worry about packing diapers. The hospital will have plenty for you. And of course, pack anything else that you feel may help you through the process of birthing and caring for a newborn baby. A nanny, perhaps? But just know that your hospital is in the business of taking care of moms in labor and newborn babies, so they might be fully stocked up on everything you will need. Except the nanny, unfortunately. Postgame. Chapter 18. They will let you take a newborn baby home. Yes, that's scary as hell. I have some news for you. You might want to sit down for this one. It's going to blow your mind. After you have a baby and the doctors determine that it is healthy, you will be allowed to take that baby home. With you. In a car. You will not be made to pass any tests or run through any obstacle courses. They will not ask you for letters of recommendation or references to call. They will not hand you any sort of instruction manual, nor will they confirm that you've done any independent research into caring for a child. They won't check that your car seat is installed correctly or do a home visit to make sure you are taking the baby to a safe environment. They will just let you leave the hospital carrying a baby. I think they require you to name the child and sign discharge papers, but other than that, you are free to go. This was and remains absolutely mind-boggling to me. I had to jump through more hoops when adopting my cat than when I took home my babies. When you leave the hospital and get to your car, you may find yourself looking around checking to see whether anyone is running after you. Because obviously it can't be this easy to take off with a child. I mean, they are aware that you are completely unqualified for this job, right? And that this job is probably the most important one on the planet? Anyone? Hello? One of my MOFLs, Sarah, is a veterinarian and was very alarmed when she left the hospital with her first child. We actually stopped when we got out of the hospital. We looked around and thought, are they actually letting us leave with him? I mean, I give more detailed written instructions when I send a dog home after being spayed. So brace yourself, dear listeners, because you too will be shocked when you are allowed to leave the hospital with your baby. Try not to look too shocked, though, because that might make people suspicious. There is little that you can do to magically make yourself confident in your parenting abilities, but you can at least set yourself up for success. Before you go into labor, get your house stocked with piles of diapers, burp cloths, swaddle blankets, baby clothes, and wipes. We used ultra-soft paper towels and warm water at the beginning. If you are going to use wipes, make sure they are sensitive and alcohol-free to cut down on the chance of diaper rash. Figure out where the baby is going to be sleeping, your room or their room, and get their bed ready. Install your car seat and maybe even have it checked out by the fire station to make sure you've done it correctly. Basically, give yourself the impression that you're prepared. Once the baby arrives, use your time in the hospital to ask as many questions as you possibly can. There are no stupid questions when it comes to trying to figure out how to care for a human child. Have the nurses show you how to do anything from swaddling to latching. Take notes, maybe on an actual piece of paper because your brain is no longer going to be a reliable storage device, and also take as many supplies as they will allow. When you get home with your baby, don't hesitate to call up the advice nurse with any questions or concerns. Your friends who already have children are also a great resource. Text them with abandon. Scour the internet for opinions as well, but be warned that it's a great place to find evidence that no matter what you are doing something wrong. So keep that in mind before you lose hours of your life to an online mom forum. Finally, never has the phrase, fake it till you make it, been more appropriate than when you are granted the responsibility of caring for a newborn. You know the basics: feed them, change them, hold them, love them. Keep doing those things as if you know what you're doing, and eventually you will. And don't worry too much. None of us knew how to parent when we left the hospital either. If they let only completely qualified people take children home, there would be roughly 4 million babies staying in hospitals throughout the land every year. I'm guessing that's why they aren't chasing you down the hall when you are leaving with your particular baby. Let the wise words of my MOFL Stephanie light your path as you reluctantly pull away from the hospital with your new tiny human. She said, "When we finally left the hospital, my husband and I were crazy scared because we had no idea what to do. We had spent so much time trying to get and stay pregnant, but we had no idea what to do beyond that. I literally said to my husband as we were walking out, 'If crack addicts can keep their babies alive, we can too.' It was oddly comforting." So there you have it. You can do this. And the fact that you are worried about whether you can do it probably means you are going to do it just fine. But maybe put that advice nurse on speed dial just in case. Chapter 19: Breastfeeding, Sleep Training, Postpartum. Your fun is just starting. In my book, The Shit No One Tells You, A Guide to Surviving Your Baby's First Year, I go into quite a bit of detail about what is coming your way in the first 12 months with your child. It's a laugh a minute. The book and the year. I was going to copy and paste the book here, but that seemed a bit excessive. Instead, I've decided to focus on my top 3 pieces of advice for new moms. Of course, quite a few other issues will come up with your newborn, but these are the ones I feel will get you going on the right foot. Breastfeeding/bottle feeding. Breastfeeding was by far the biggest struggle I faced when my baby was brand new, which is saying a lot because I was a mess. Looking back on it, I think breastfeeding was so hard because I expected it to be so easy. I expected my child to pop out, jump up to my boob, and grab on for dear life, because her life actually depended on it. Surely nature would instill in her every instinct she needed to sustain herself. But it turns out she didn't quite get the memo. I had been told repeatedly throughout my pregnancy that breast was best, and that if I cared at all about my child and her future well-being, I would breastfeed. It was, of course, the most natural thing on the planet. And then it turned out that the most natural thing on the planet took myself and 2 helpers to pull off at the beginning, because sometimes nature needs an assist, apparently. I always try to warn pregnant moms that breastfeeding will be really hard, so they go into it with that expectation. Just a tiny shift in expectation can mean the difference between sticking with it or giving up and falling into a deep depression because your body is failing at the most basic of motherly duties. In my case, both of my kids had a sensitivity to dairy. If I drank or ate it, their bellies didn't enjoy my breast milk. I think this is a very common sensitivity, and I always recommend cutting out dairy if your baby seems to be uncomfortable or gassy. It took me a week or so to figure this out with Vivian, but with Daniel I went dairy-free from the first day. In the hospital I told them I was vegan so they wouldn't give me anything with dairy. They had very different first-week experiences because of this minor change in my diet. Also, I like to tell moms that it's not the end of the world if they aren't able to breastfeed. I know moms who chose not to or couldn't, or tried for months and couldn't get their boobs to ever fully come on board. These moms felt shame at formula feeding their babies, and that's not an added stress new moms need. Whether you breastfeed or formula feed, the point is you are feeding the child. And that is the most important part of the equation. If you formula feed, it may take you a few tries to find a formula that your child likes, or that your child's belly likes. When trying different formulas, don't overlook the store brand formula. They are a lot cheaper and provide the same nutrients as name brands. Also, remember that these are new bellies you are working with, so try not to change up their food too often. If you find a formula that your baby likes, stick with that one. Basically, feeding your baby is the number one requirement for taking care of them. And it can be really demoralizing if getting them fed is difficult in any way. Try to get as much help as you can from the hospital staff before you leave. If you are breastfeeding, ask to talk to a lactation consultant 2 minutes after the baby arrives. Talk to them more than once. Don't wait until things aren't working to ask for help. As with most tasks involving your baby, it's best to go into feeding assuming you know nothing, and work your way up from there. Sleep training. Getting your baby to sleep for extended periods of time, preferably during dark hours, will quickly become your number one parenting goal once you bring home your newborn. You will miss sleep in a way an addict misses drugs when they are forced to stop them cold turkey, because you will essentially be stopping sleep cold turkey. And as with a drug addict, your withdrawal symptoms will not be pretty. There is no way for you to prepare for the level of exhaustion you will feel when your baby is brand new, and the shock it will send through your system may leave you frantically searching for a solution. But here's the thing. Babies aren't great sleepers. Some have their days and nights mixed up when they pop out. Some have belly issues that make it uncomfortable to lie down. Some just want to be held 24 hours a day because they are babies and they are scared. There are countless sleep training options out there, ranging from cry baby cry to I'll hold you until you are 14. I recommend investigating all of them and trying them until you land on one that works. Stick with it as long as it works. If it stops working, go back to the drawing board. When I brought Vivian home, I was obsessed with trying to find a sleep training option that worked for her, because all I could think about was how long it would be until we all got to sleep like normal people again. I was so frustrated that she didn't excel at any method, and my exhaustion left me feeling defeated and sad. But when I brought Daniel home, I knew what was coming my way. I knew I was going to be tired for a long time. I knew he wasn't going to be a perfect sleeper right out of the gate. But I didn't stress out as much with him, and even though I was still tired, I wasn't nearly as frustrated. This made a huge difference in my overall mood. So if you can, accept that your baby is coming into this world with the sole goal of creating permanent dark circles around your eyes. There will be nights that turn into mornings, and crying that lasts what feels like 3 days. It's going to be hard, but I promise it's also going to be temporary. I promise you that eventually your child will sleep, although I can't promise you that it will happen as quickly as you want it to. And I can't promise that you'll ever be allowed to sleep with the freedom and gusto that you did pre-kids. But the first few months of exhaustion will slowly get better as your body adjusts to decreasing sleep and your child adjusts to the idea of increasing their sleep. Be patient with both of you during this time as you battle these huge learning curves. You'll both get there eventually, because there is no way a child with your DNA isn't going to be a champion sleeper someday. It's just science. Postpartum baby blues. You've probably heard a lot about postpartum depression and the baby blues that can come after having a baby. But no matter how much you've heard or read, it always comes as a bit of a shock to your system when you experience it yourself. There's something that feels inherently wrong about sadness during what should be such a happy time. You just won the lottery, damn it. Why are you crying? But keep in mind that yes, you just won the lottery, but then your hormones went upside down and you stopped sleeping. And the lottery check won't stop screaming. So don't beat yourself up if you are a little blue. It doesn't mean you don't love your baby, and it doesn't mean you aren't up for this parenting gig. It just means you may need to break down in a heap of tears periodically for no apparent reason. Don't fight it. Postpartum issues can range from a mild case of the baby blues all the way up to severe depression. If you are feeling sad or overwhelmed or just off, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your partner, your doctor, or any close friends you trust. There's no shame in having postpartum sadness, and no one will fault you for it. And your lottery ticket won't love you any less, I promise. Partner Corner. A PSA. Jeremy. Postpartum depression is the worst because that shit is real and nobody ever warns you about it. Not your dad, uncle, homies, nobody. I swear, I saw my wife's head spin around a few times. The mood swings and complete breakdowns are hard for a dude to comprehend, let alone deal with. Dudes only have one, maybe two emotions at a time. That's it. We are pretty level, predictable, reliable. Women are a strange drug for us. Unpredictable, batshit crazy, intriguing, annoying, addictive. During the postpartum time, you expect to see somebody jump out of a bush with the camera and say, "Ha, gotcha!" But that moment never comes and you are left wondering, what the fuck is happening? Is it permanent? Thankfully, it's not. It all buffed out in the end. But I'm still mad that nobody warned me, and I have taken it as a personal mission to PSA that shit to any dude coming close to that point in life. Partner Corner. Thoughts on baby mama. Matt. I'm in awe of God's thoughtful creativity. I am in total amazement of the emotional, physical, and chemical transformation of my wife's body as she puked and grew her way through 9 grueling months of hardcore body boot baby camp. If she'd given up after baby number 1, I would have understood. It was that tough. I think she's amazing, and it's way harder than anything I could do. Kevin. Men aren't shit. Women make babies. Pete. I remain amazed at the female body and what it can do. I watch Julie with the kids, and I'm amazed by the woman and mother she has become. I really don't know how she does it, but I'm grateful, and need to remember to tell her that once in a while. Sometimes she complains about looking old or never losing the baby belly, and it drives me crazy. Those things never bother me. In fact, they remind me of the sacrifices she has made for me, for us, for our family. I love all of it. But nothing is better than watching one of my kids and catching a glimpse of my wife in their eyes, their smile, or their mannerisms. Each one reminds me of her in different ways. I love that. Becky. I loved my partner before she pushed those 2 watermelons out for me. But there's another layer of love that I feel because she made our kids. A kind of love that I only realize when there is enough calm to remember it. There was no one in the world that can ever replace that role for me, and I am forever grateful to her and will always love her for it. Jeremy. Before kids, you are both selfish and for the most part self-serving. But a strange thing happens when you have kids. There is an inherent deeper connection or bond that forms. I felt it the moment Michelle was in labor with Enzo and some pretty gnarly shit went down. At that moment, there was a very collective we that formed. I had both of their backs, and I was willing to do whatever it took to keep them both safe and healthy. At that moment, a much deeper love and appreciation of my wife formed, one that I will forever fail at accurately explaining to her, and I will continue to fall short at expressing because I'm a dude and we speak different languages. There are still fights, arguments, and disagreements, mostly over money and trivial things as we blindly try to make our way through life and apply all the filters society says we should. But at the end of the day, from the day our first son was born till the day I die, I've got her back. Forever. Dear Bean Letters. Week 41. We made it. Dear Bean, we made it. We made it to the hospital before you kicked your way into the world. Barely, you kicked a lot faster than I was expecting. We made it out of the hospital after having to stay an extra couple of days. Turns out neither one of us knew how to operate my boobs. We made it home, everyone in one piece, although my pieces are a little worse for the wear. Since we've been home, I found life to be a series of very loud and very quiet moments. You, my love, are responsible for both. You are so tiny, you are swimming in your newborn onesies because they are too big for your little body. Yet you've become very good at getting your point across via a decibel that is quite ambitious for something only weighing 6 pounds. Since you are so little and so new, your only form of communication is these ear-busting screams. For added fun, you are usually doing this screaming right near an actual ear. Unfortunately for all of us, I don't speak scream, and most of the time I have no idea what you are trying to communicate exactly. Are you wet? Are you hungry? Are you tired? Are you gassy? Are you a newborn baby and therefore you scream a lot? I just don't know. We do a lot of holding you and bouncing you and feeding you and burping you and changing you. When you cry, we tend to do all of those things in rapid succession, hoping to land on whatever will bring you and our ears comfort. And sometimes it works. You just wanted to eat or be rocked or be sung to or be changed. Or maybe you just wanted to see us frantically do all those things because we are your dancing monkeys now and that is entertaining, even to a baby. Could go either way. But when it works, when you are calm or when you are lulled to sleep, that's when the quiet moments take place. It's a quiet like I've never experienced. And God help anyone who makes any noise and startles you back into crying mode. But more than just the absence of sound, these quiet moments now hold something else. You. There you are, peacefully sleeping, or peacefully eating, or just peacefully being peaceful. I stare at you during these quiet times and study you for hours. That sounds crazy, but I literally spend hours of my days just staring at you. Almost as if I need to constantly remind myself that you are actually here, that this is all real. If you are awake, I will try to talk to you a bit. But you aren't much of a conversationalist, so we usually just end up sitting in silence, staring at each other. Both of us getting used to you being on the outside of me. I most often sit with my knees up and you lying on my legs, on a little baby recliner. Your tiny feet kick, kick, kick my belly as we stare at each other. The kicking is familiar. You've been doing it to the inside of my belly for months. You are only a couple of weeks old, but I feel like I've known you for longer than that. Because I have. And now we are like pen pals who are meeting after years spent communicating back and forth. My communications were mostly prayers and talking to my belly, while you relied heavily on kicking and waves of nausea. It seems like I've dreamt of you forever, and now, here you are, on my lap. Quiet, peaceful, and occasionally screaming your tiny head off. We made it. You're perfect. Welcome home, Bean. Epilogue. I once wrote a quote for a greeting card that read, "Pregnancy is the time in between who you were and who you were meant to be." The card had a picture of a pregnant woman looking down at her month 9 belly. I wrote the quote before I had kids of my own. Before I realized that I was meant to be someone whose daily ensemble included yoga pants and dark circles under her eyes. Who knew I was meant for so much glamour? Now that I have had pregnancies of my own, as well as the resulting babies, I've started to look at the 40 weeks of gestation a little differently. I joke throughout this book that pregnancy is crunch time, a countdown clock to parenthood. And it is. But more than that, it's a countdown to a new version of you. Think of it as you, version 2.0, Mom Edition. As soon as that baby pops out, you will officially and forever be a mom. It's big, it's amazing, it's encompassing in a way that can't really be put into words. You will feel an overwhelming pressure to do everything you can to prepare for motherhood in the months leading up to your delivery, and all of that work and planning is valid and important. But I'd like to encourage you to do one more thing as well. I'd like you to spend these pregnancy months taking some time to really get to know the current version of you, the woman you are today, before you forever add mom to your title. Read a bunch of novels you've had your eye on over the years. Go to the theater. Leave your phone at home and go for a walk around your neighborhood. Try out that hobby you've always been interested in. Go somewhere you've never been. Be still. Say yes if a friend invites you out. Have long, meandering conversations with your partner about nothing and everything. Write in a journal. Get to know yourself. Theoretically, you've had your entire life to do all these things, to learn everything you need to know about yourself, and maybe you feel adequately educated on the subject of you. Even if that's the case, go ahead and take a little refresher course. Once you bring home your new baby, whether it's baby number 1, 2, 3, or 8, your life will change forever because it now has to make room for a whole new person. And that new person will stake out its space splat in the middle of your home, your heart, and your mind. There will be a haze over your life for a while, the haze that babies tend to bring along with them. You'll be tired, overwhelmed, and underbathed. But the haze is temporary and will slowly begin to lift as your kids get a little older and you get your footing along this learning curve. When the haze dissipates, you may wonder where you are exactly and who you are. The truth is, you're the same person you were before that pregnancy test started you on this new path. Your heart is just a little bit bigger, and your face is just a lot more in need of cosmetic help. I want you to get to know yourself during pregnancy because I want you to make your way back to that woman after you come out of your new mom haze. Obviously, you aren't going to make your way back to all the things you were pre-parenthood. RIP ab muscles and relaxing Sunday afternoons doing nothing. But that doesn't mean you can't hit some of the major bullet points. You can join a book club, or sign up for a spin class, or organize a mom's night out, or take a solo stroll around your neighborhood after dinner, or set a regular date night with your spouse. It can be easy to lose yourself in the commotion of parenthood, but making an effort to incorporate who you were into who you are will make you better for everyone. This is not to say that new you isn't going to be pretty kick-ass. What new you will lack in freedom, sleep, and privacy, she will more than make up for in baby giggles, tummy time, and little hands that are always reaching out for mom, never really wanting to let her go. As you hold on to those little hands and navigate through this new life as a mom, you'll be constantly searching for tips and tricks on how to be the best parent for your kids. I could give you piles and piles of these tips and tricks. I've filled entire books with them. But I'm not going to. I'm not going to tell you to relax because you won't, and that it all goes by so fast because it doesn't. But I do have a little secret to share. You'll spend years dreaming about this child, and 9 months growing them from a little bean into a real live person. You'll stress and pray and read and buy and obsess along the way. And then at some point, maybe early on, maybe years down the line, you'll realize the secret. The secret is that everything you've ever needed to know about parenting wasn't in a book or on a blog or in Babies R Us. It was in them, in those giggles and tummy time and tiny little hands. So grow them, love them, and hold them close. And in return, they will teach you exactly how to be the parent they need, almost as if it was meant to be. This has been a Hachette audio production of The Shit No One Tells You About Pregnancy, written and read by Dawn Deas. Produced by Dennis Ko. Directed by John Kovarek. Sound editing by Fred Koch. Mixing and mastering by Jeremy Wesley. Production supervised by Christine M. Farrell. The Shit No One Tells You About Pregnancy is also available in print and digital formats from Seal Press, an imprint of Perseus Books, a division of Hachette Book Group. For more Hachette audio productions, visit us at hachetteaudio.com. Thank you for listening. Text copyright 2017 by Dawn Deas. Audio production copyright 2017 Hachette Audio. All rights reserved. Hachette Book Group supports the right to free expression and the value of copyright. The purpose of copyright is to encourage writers and artists to produce the creative works that enrich our culture. The duplicating, uploading, and distribution of this audiobook without permission is a theft of the author's intellectual property. If you would like permission to use material from the audiobook, other than for review purposes, please contact permissions@hbgusa.com. Thank you for your support of the author's rights.